All right, welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to be recapping UFC Vegas 104. That's the fight that happened this past weekend, and it was quite a night. Quite a few huge upsets. We were able to cash a few of those big underdogs. One of them in particular. And yeah, I'll talk about, as always, I'll talk about my betting results. I'll talk about how the event went in general, what I think of the fights, what I think of the fighters, that won, that lost, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here. So, first fight of the night was a hotly contested and debated fight all week. Carly Judas versus Unessi Dubin. There were people who were very passionate about Judas. There were people that were very passionate about Dubin. There were people who were being very aggressive on both sides for I'm not sure what reasons for a fight like that. And I ended up ultimately just staying away for the most part. I ended up put when the line came down heavy on on Dubin, a lot of money came in last second, and Judas was like minus 240. I parlayed her with Luciano, which lost because of Luciano, but Judas looked great. She did kind of what a lot of us did expect her to do. A lot of us felt like Dubin was not exactly as good as she may have looked after her contender series bout. And a lot of us felt like Judas would just be a much cleaner, crisper striker. I certainly didn't expect Judas to put her away in the first round. I thought it would be an attritional kind of thing. But no, she cooked her, knocked her out with a head kick. Really good performance by Judas. I think she has a really high ceiling. She's still very young, very green, and she's already very talented. And yes, she has those two losses under the UFC banner on the contender series versus Karaskate and the other one against Fernandez in her UFC debut. Those are both solid losses. So I expect a lot from Judas. And I mean, Dubin will stick around. They're definitely not going to cut her after all the hype Dana put behind her, but they're definitely going to have to slow build her. And I don't know who you give her next to get her a win. After that, we had Priscilla Cachoeira versus Josiane Nunes. Awesome fight. I did have money on Priscilla Cachoeira plus 150. I had a unit on her. And I was like, it was like a really funny fight to watch because I'm just watching and I just see Priscilla go bop, bop, bop. And she just keeps doing the same thing with that right hand. I believe it was the right, not the left. And she just keeps doing the same thing, just going bop, bop, bop. Nunes had no idea how to react whatsoever. She looked incredibly confused. And then Priscilla comes upstairs with it was an uppercut and puts Nunes away. Really good performance from Priscilla. This was her, I believe, her second fight in the UFC at 135. And I thought she looked pretty good doing it. As long as she doesn't have a grappler, she's a great fighter. She's a really good striker. And they should keep trying to matchmake her like this. Keep her away from the grapplers. We know she's going to lose. Let's just see her strike because it's a lot of fun. And Josiane Nunes, I don't know what you do with her, honestly. I've never been super high on her. She's tough. She's fun to watch. But I'm not really quite sure if she has like a major future in the division. After that, we had Andre Lima versus Daniel Barras. I have been very hesitant to get behind the Andre Lima train. I have just always felt like he doesn't show enough urgency in his fights. He's kind of too happy to coast, but he looked really good in this past fight. I missed it live. I had to rewatch it, and I thought he looked very good. I ended up betting Barras small half unit at plus 340. I just didn't think there was any way that line was right, and honestly, Lima probably covered. He looked very solid, was able to get that submission at the end. I know a lot of people did have that sub prop. That was a great hit. I considered it, but ultimately passed and went for the Barras money line instead. And it is what it is. I think I've learned my lesson. Lima's legit, and I'm not going to be fading him unless I have a real good reason to. And I do think he's going to be he's a guy who's got a very good future at flyweight. Flyweight is stacked right now. I love it so much. It's such a good division. After that, we had Sam Hughes versus Stephanie Luciano. I got to give credit where credit is due. When I'm right, I showed off, and when I'm wrong, I gotta eat it as well. And all week, I said that Sam Hughes does not win fights where she doesn't have a significant cardio advantage or grappling advantage or both. And she didn't have a significant cardio advantage in this fight. I don't think she had a significant wrestling advantage, but she was able to overall just beat Luciano. She looked solid. It was a good fight. Yeah, not a ton to say, really. Luciano's still young. I still believe she has the higher ceiling out of the two of them. But right now, it does appear like Sam Hughes is the better fighter. And it was a good performance from Sam Hughes. And I will no longer be doubting her. She's a lot better than I gave her credit for. After that, we had the fight. We had Carlos Vera versus Josias Musasa. All week, I was saying Musasa's probably the overall better guy, just in terms of not better. Like I thought he would win. I thought he would win more often than not. I thought he was the rightful favorite because he was more athletic, he's powerful, better striker, and just seemed all around better, other than the grappling, of course. And I said that right away. That was the reason I ended up taking the Vera shot, is that A, I don't really know what Musasa looks like off his back. I know a little bit, but not against dangerous submission grapplers. The guy he beat on the Contender Series is a very good fighter, and funny enough, I think that guy is better than Vera all around, but he's not as dangerous of a grappler. And I just felt like overall Musasa was still very green, and he could make a lot of mistakes. So to make him minus 1,000, even though I felt like he was the rightful favorite, I felt like minus 1,000 was far too much. So I played a quarter unit on Vera at plus 600, and that was smart because it was almost a knockout and not a sub. And I know everyone played sub, and so did I at plus 1150. I played both the money line and the submission prop, but I'm glad I played the money line because look how close that was to being just a knockout. The way he came up with that kick, I believe it was the right on the right side. He came up with the right kick to the head. It was beautiful. It was a really nice kick. Hurt Musasa, dropped him, took his back, submitted him in the first round. There's a vet lesson. Musasa is not going anywhere. He's going to give us a lot of fun fights in the UFC. I'm confident about that. But that was a really good performance from Vera, and he made sure I had a profitable night Saturday. After that, we had Su Young Yu versus AJ Cunningham. I had a half unit on Cunningham money line just because I felt like if the weight cut went well, he should be able to, make it competitive. He was a bigger guy, in my opinion, the better striker. But I also had the fight goes the distance because I felt like Yu's not that great of a finisher. And if he was to win, it would be by decision. And I felt like even if AJ was to win, it would probably be by decision as well. So I played the fight goes at plus 130. I cashed that, but I lost on AJ Cunningham money line. So I profited 0.8 units, and I'll take it. Su Young Yu looked good. He's a really, really, really good grappler. And AJ, yeah, he lost. I was hoping maybe 135 would be better for him, but I'm not really sure about it at this point. Like, maybe you give him another fight or two at 35 and see what happens. Like, maybe give him Chad Enliger if he wasn't cut. He might have been cut, though. Something like that. See if he can get in the win column. But, yeah, it's tough. After that, we had Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Ryan Spann. I knew a lot of people on Spann. There were people trying to talk me onto the spot, talking about, he's coming up to heavyweight. Maybe it'll be better for him and his cardio and everything. Nothing's changed. Literally nothing about Ryan Spann has changed. Decent round one, but I don't even think he looked good in round one. And then in round two, he just falls apart, goes for that stupid throw, falls face first into the ground, and gets finished. It was just an abysmal performance, a bullet dodged by me, and I'm glad that I stayed away. I don't think that Ryan Spann is going to do super well at heavyweight. I think that if he couldn't take himself seriously at light heavyweight, just bulking up he didn't even bulk up. He just stopped cutting weight is what it appears like. I just don't think he's going to have the same success as his training partner, Kennedy Nchukwu, who also moved up, but seems to be taking it a lot more seriously. So I don't know what you do with Spann at this point. And Waldo keeps the winning streak alive. And yeah, solid performance from him. After that, we had Kevin Vallejos making his debut finally against Sungwoo Choi. Everybody was super hype about Vallejos. I was hype about Vallejos. I stayed away from the line because I felt like it was probably wide, but I'm not getting in front of this kid. Not with someone like Sungwoo Choi, who kind of has a busted chin, and Kevin put him out in the first round. Looked super impressive. Came in with a lot of aura. Was hype all week long during leading up to the fight night. He was tweeting about how good he feels, how he's going to get a knockout. And sometimes people do that and they end up losing in horrible fashion, but he came through. He won very dominantly, and he's still super young. I think he's like 24 years old, so I'm super hyped to see what happens with him. I think he called for the Gene Silva matchup, but I think leave that to the side for now and let them both build up in the rankings. Gene Silva's already going up in the rankings, fighting Bryce Mitchell. Let Kevin do the same thing, and maybe they'll meet at the top for their rematch. After that, we had Brenson Ribeiro versus DR Nurgazai. I haven't gotten to watch this fight. I haven't gotten to rewatch this fight, and I missed it live. So I don't know exactly how it went, but I'm kind of kicking myself for not fading DR. I faded him on the Contender Series with a much worse opponent, a guy who is not very good at all, and a guy who I have since faded as well in KSW. And I probably should have faded him with Brenson, who's better than that, but I didn't. I just stayed away. He missed weight by 5 pounds, and then he gets submitted. I believe Brenson was off his back from what I understand. Yeah, terrible performance by DR, I guess. Again, I have to watch it, but minus 400 favorite. You miss weight by 5 pounds and then you get submitted. Like, do you even care? It's not a great look for your UFC debut. Like, it's one thing to lose, it's another to miss weight by 5 pounds and then lose as a huge favorite. That's just rough. And then good for Brenson. I'm really glad he's getting these wins. It's a real feel good moment. He's a guy who really worked to be here, hasn't had the cleanest career, but he's getting some wins now, and he deserves it. So I'm happy for him, and I'm glad I stayed away in that fight. Maybe should have put a little bit on Ribeiro, but it is what it is. Hindsight's 2020. After that, we had Blackshear versus Gibson, another fight that I just stayed away from. I know a lot of people liked Blackshear by sub. They played it. That was a good read. That was a good play. I stayed away just because I thought Gibson's a pretty good grappler too, and I thought maybe he would be able to fight it off, and I didn't really like the price. I think it was like +3 something on the Blackshear submission, so I didn't really want anything to do with it. He won. Looked pretty good doing it. That was a solid finish. Props to Blackshear. And yeah, I mean, keep building the guy up. He's not that old either. His record's not pretty, but I think he's only like 31 or 32. He's only 30, and all of his losses are solid. So he's a guy I've always been pretty high on, and hopefully I'll get a better price on his next fight so I can actually back him again, because I couldn't do it at minus 400. After that, we had Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holloway. Hernandez got the win. This is another fight that I didn't get to watch back yet. I heard that it was very, very disputed. A lot of people felt like Holloway won. Some people felt like, was this the fight where people were saying it was a draw? Honestly, this is the one I need to watch back more on. I'm just glad I stayed away from a betting perspective. I felt like Holloway had value, but I also felt like Hernandez, if he fought smart, would be able to win if he was able to get takedowns. And from what I'm hearing, he did get those takedowns and he was able to get the decision. So glad I stayed away. After that, we had the co-main. It was Chidi Njokuani versus Elizeu Zaleski. I ended up betting just Zaleski submission. My early lean was Chidi. Then I stayed away just because I still get thrown off by the Mikhail Sashik loss. Like, what the hell was that? So I just didn't want to bet on him, even though he was a solid underdog, and I felt like it was probably a good spot. Talked myself out of it, unfortunately. I did have ZDS sub. That did not hit, obviously, and Chidi was able to knock him out. So good for Chidi. ZDS is on the older side at this point, so it does make sense in hindsight. And props to anybody who bet Chidi. He's a guy who I like to watch fight a lot. Just I get nervous when it comes to backing him with my money. And then after that, we had Roman Dolidze versus Marvin Vettori. I had a small bet on Vettori by decision. Not small. It was 1 unit. I had a bet on Vettori by decision that I placed pretty early. The second I saw the face-offs, I got really, really concerned. I couldn't really place it, but Vettori just didn't seem right. His face didn't look right. He just looked, I don't really know how to describe what I was seeing, but I didn't like it. And I felt real nervous about it. I didn't want to play with it too much, try to hedge off or anything. So I just left it alone. And Dolidze was able to get the win. From what I saw, it was close, possibly 2-2 going into the fifth. And Dolidze definitely won the fifth round. So cleanly won that 3-2, maybe 4-1. I've seen some people give it to him 4-1. But either way, it was a good performance by Dolidze. Showed that he does have 5-round cardio, and maybe he can compete at the top of the division. I believe he's only 33, or no, he's 36. I think, yeah, he's 36. So if he's going to get it done, he's going to get that title. It's got to be quick. It's got to be soon, and you could do some interesting things with him in terms of matchmaking. Give him Robert Whitaker or rematch with Imavov, but Imavov is like ranked number 1 now, so I don't think that's going to happen. You probably give him someone like Robert Whitaker. I think that's a fun fight. Or give him Sean Strickland. That's another good one. Either one of those, I think, is a good next test for Dolidze. And then Vettori, I'm not sure what's going on with Vettori now. But that's it, guys. That's UFC Vegas 104. Total profit on the night was, I believe, 2.2 units for me. Yeah, 2.2 units. So we keep the winning streak alive. That is now 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 winning UFC events in a row, and I'm pretty happy with those results. And hopefully, we can keep it going. Make sure you're looking out for my breakdown video for UFC London coming out tomorrow, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.